So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this, our Cabinet meeting on the morning of Friday, the 8th of August. This is a special Cabinet in the sense that we had to delay making these decisions that we're going to be considering this morning, just on the basis that we needed to make sure that all of the appropriate notices were filed and had the right amount of time for them to be considered properly. And so as a consequence of there being a slight error in doing that, we're a couple of weeks later than we anticipated we would be, and hence having a special meeting. As a result of that, there are apologies from a few people who are on holiday, from Russell Oppenheimer and Kirsty North, both Cabinet members, and from Rob McAtter, Bill Withers and Leslie Minahan from the bench of Select Committee chairs over there. So I've got the normal housekeeping statement to read, which is thank you for attending this meeting of Cabinet. Whilst the meeting is open to the public, it is being recorded and broadcast live on the County Council's website and will be available for repeat viewing. It may also be recorded and filmed by the press and public. Filming or recording is only permitted in this room whilst the meeting is taking place, so must stop when the meeting is either adjourned or closed. Filming is not permitted elsewhere in the building at any time. If the filming of the meeting is paused for any reason while the meeting is still taking place, then an audio recording will be commenced in order to assist with minute taking and to resolve any lack of clarity. Audio recordings will not be broadcast. We're not expecting a fire drill, but in the event that there is a fire alarm, please vacate via the main reception or via one of the emergency exits across the hall. So I think that's all of us here. We've have a couple of we need to consider declarations of interest. I know there are a couple of people, so Zoe.
Thank you, Chair. My declaration of interest, although it's non-pecuniary, it's for items 5C and 5D. I believe because my position of chair of a post-16 multi-academy, it would be best that I don't take part in debate or vote of items 5C and 5D.
Thanks very much. And Roz?
Thank you, Leader. I've got to declare a non-pecuniary interest as a governor of the Farnborough Technical College in the north of the county, but we'll still partake in items 5C and 5D.
No other interests? That's super. Thanks. And so just a few quick announcements from me. The first one is to welcome Gary. Who I'm pleased to say so far this week has received the note about which shirt to wear every day so that we look exactly the same. But Gary is ending his first week formally as our new chief executive, and I think it's fair to say he's already making a fantastic contribution to the organisation and to the general feeling of driving things forward for us all. So welcome, although you've been here plenty of times before, but this is the first time sitting there. And as you'll probably notice, we've all moved around a little bit as well in terms of our positions. So forgive me if I start looking to my left, but I should be looking to my right for Jan later on. A few quick announcements from me. Earlier in July, both Jan and Zoe went to the New Forest show for us all, and it was great to welcome Baroness Taylor, who is one of the MHCLG ministers there as well, alongside Gary, to be able to talk to her around a number of different issues to do with devolution and local government organisation. Process of devolution is proceeding really well, and we are indeed after this meeting going to talk further with our colleagues in Southampton and Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight around the ways by which we can further get things ready for the mayor and for the legislation that will be laid in Parliament in the autumn to prepare us for the creation of that combined authority and all of the benefits that will come with it. As you'll know, our proposal for local government reorganisation is out for engagement at the moment, and there's been some fantastic response already. I spoke at an event in Boulder on Tuesday, and the tour continues to West End, I think, on Tuesday, and then to Brockenhurst the following week. We also held an event yesterday, or two different events, morning and afternoon, to obtain the feedback from all of our parish councils around how we can best put forward plans for neighbourhood engagement and community engagement, and use all of their experience in shaping the response that we give to government at the end of September. And I have to say, we had some great questions. We had great attendance, both from Hampshire parish councils and from a couple of people from the Isle of Wight as well. And I think it went really well. And so, huge thanks to Emma and to Gary and to our colleagues from East Hampshire who were able to support us in the conversations that we had. And I think we obtained some really good feedback around how we can ensure that their voice is heard in the submission that we eventually make. So that's a good piece of news. A less good piece of news is the fair funding review, and we're still waiting for the eventual outcome of it. But I think it's fair to say that the consequences of the government's fair funding review, particularly around the fact that they seem to assume that we should have the income from council tax that is equivalent to the national average, which we clearly don't because we are the second lowest in the country, means that there will be a further reduction in our funding from government. That is a proportion of our income is nowhere near as great as the proportion for some of the rural districts, so we're going to be losing even more money over the next 3 or 4 years, and that just adds an additional financial challenge to our organisation. That said, I talked in May of us beginning to move the oil tanker that is the county council, and you will hear as we begin to talk through our items this morning the fact that we have some good news around how we're beginning to affect that change and affect the transformation that we need. And my thanks indeed to all of the senior management team for all of the hard work that they're doing, and under Gary's leadership, how that is really beginning to gather pace now and give us some hope for seeing a way through the challenges that we have. Final thing just to mention is that there are earlier this week I went to the Gurkha Museum, which is amongst the military museums that are just up the hill here in Winchester. If you are looking for something to do on a cloudy or rainy day, we haven't had that many rainy days at the minute, but on a cloudy day this summer holiday, then do go and take a look at the military museums up there, and particularly the Gurkha Museum. It's a great place to go have a look. And the Gurkhas in particular are integral to the events that we're holding across the county, and I know particularly in Rushmore and in Havant and in Hart, to commemorate the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, which falls next Friday, week today. I think with all of the different commemorations that we've had over the last few months around the VE Day and VJ Day and around the end of the Second World War, it's really notable to note that this is probably the last time that veterans will be able to attend in large numbers, because by the time we get to the 85th anniversary, anybody that fought in that conflict will be over 100 years old. And so I hope they all go well. And I know a number of us are attending different events around the county over the next week. And so that's it from me. We've got no deputations this morning. We do have Councillor Porter, Jackie Porter. Welcome, Jackie, who'd like to speak on a couple of items. Rather than ask Jackie to come talk to us now and then us trying to remember what she said later on, what I'm going to suggest is that Jackie comes and addresses us just at the beginning of each of the items, because what we're going to be doing is taking under item 5, which has 4 different saving proposal items, that we take each of those items separately. And I think, if I'm right, 5D and 6 are the 2 items you'd like to speak to. So I'll ask you to come up at that point, Jackie, and just join us and say what you'd like to at the beginning of that piece. The first item on our agenda is item 5, savings proposals to 2025, phase 2, consultation and revenue savings proposals. They're on pages 5 to 26. As I said, there are 4 different parts to this, and we'll take each of them individually. But Gary, would you like to introduce them sort of generally at the beginning?
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, Leader. Good morning, Cabinet. So this report before you recommends for your approval the 4 savings proposals detailed in the report, totalling £9.86 million, which forms part of the overall SP25 Phase 2 savings agreed by Cabinet and approved by County Council in February 2025. These have now all been subject to public consultation, which was consolidated consultation that covered each of the individual proposals. You'll see separate appendices are attached for each of the proposals and separate recommendations, as you've referred to, are set out above, to ensure that each individual proposal can be considered separately, taking into account the results of the consultation, the revised equality impact assessment, and also that really important feedback from relevant select committees, which are included as letters from the respective chairs and in your packs today. So the 4 savings that are being considered today is number 1, universal services, the planned highways maintenance, recommending savings totalling 4.323 million, detailed in Appendix 1. Adults Health and Care, Order Adults Day Services, recommended savings totalling 210,000 in Appendix 2. Number 3, which is Children's Services, Post-16 Transport, recommended savings totalling 2.55 million, detailed in Appendix 3. And Children's Services, both school transport and Post-16 Transport, recommended savings totalling 2.777 million, detailed in Appendix 4. Members will see across all the proposals the comprehensive and diligent work undertaken by officers, the detailed outcomes of the consultation exercise, and the engagement with members and select committees throughout the process. So, Leader, I know you want to take us through the individual recommendations. They're on pages 5, 6 and 7 of the report, which I understand will break down into the 4 component parts. We'll just have the relevant directors spring into action to answer any questions that may come up. So thank you.
Yep, that's super. Thanks very much, Gary. So before we jump into the individual points, I know that a couple of colleagues wanted to make some general points. And I know Jan, who looks after finance for us, it's appropriate for you to say a few words as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Leader. And there are some huge financial implications in this paper, as it outlines savings proposals across the 3 directorates, contributing an additional 9.86 million towards our SP25 savings programme. Savings programmes have become a regular feature of the financial planning of every county council across the country, as we make sure every penny of our residents' money is spent carefully and efficiently. And over the past 10 years, this council has made almost 800 million of revenue savings by transforming how we work, being innovative, efficient, and more commercial. Importantly, each of our savings programmes over the years has had a significant and positive impact on our budget. So I'm really pleased to report that this financial year, the Q1 position shows a notable 21 million underspend. It's a really positive start to the financial year and a testament to the hard work and committing of all our staff, who continue to deliver value for money while maintaining high standards of service. Thanks to this performance, we now have a potential reduction in our need to draw on the budget bridging reserve to deliver a balanced budget, from the initial 65 million down to 44 million, and that is no small achievement. However, we are very aware, as the Leader announced, we have complex challenges ahead, not least a rising demand in both adults and children's social care, increased contract costs driven by the rise in national insurance, and pressure on the dedicated schools grant. So importantly, I want to sincerely thank all our executive members and staff across every department for their dedication in finding smarter, more efficient ways of working, ensuring we continue to support each and every one of our Hampshire residents. Thank you.
And Zoe? Yeah.
Thank you, Leader. My follows on from Jan, and as we've heard today, as demand for services like social care and SEND continues to increase, we face that increased pressure. So not just to do more, but to do more with a higher cost. And as we've also heard, it's clear that moving beyond a focus solely on efficiencies is going to be key, as the leader stated. So transformation, continual learning, alongside efficiency and savings is key, and it's not a choice between the two, transformation and savings, it is working them together in parallel. To look beyond the short term and to future fit our services. So our services continue as high quality and transform for our residents. So residents receive better high quality services that are resilient, agile, future fit and financially stable. So that's really key for me. But as we've also heard, the government also need to do their bit. They also need to bring forward immediately the funding reviews for those high demand services and those statutory services. Thank you.
So thanks very much, Zoe. Any other general comments? No, so let's move on to the first of the items, which is Appendix 1. It's the planned highway maintenance. I don't think Patrick wants to say anything particularly about this to begin with. Do we have any questions to the paper? No, we're all good. So some debate, Lulu?
May I start this off with a short statement, Leader, if I may. Speaking as the Executive Member for Highways and Passenger Transport on this proposal of the reduction in planned maintenance activities of 4.3 million from April 25. Firstly, I'd like to offer my thanks to the Universal Services Select Committee and Task and Finish Group for their valuable insight and discussions and for supporting the recommendations. Unfortunately, neither Rob McAtter or Jackie Branson are with us today, but I will make sure that I pass on my thanks to them directly. Also, of course, the officers for their extensive work on their proposals and for continuing to use the resources that we have to deliver the best results on our roads for Hampshire residents. Regarding the agenda item, the majority of funding for planned maintenance comes from the Department of Transport grants. Annual budget allocations for planned maintenance since 2021 and 2020 have been in excess of 30 million. The proposed total reduction of 11.8 million from phase 1 and 2 of SP25 will still leave a significant funding allocation to continue to deliver a broad range of planned maintenance, such as carriageway resurfacing, but the size of the projects could be reduced. Despite the proposed reduction, the additional 15.2 million received from DFT in 25-26 will mean that there is still an additional 3.4 million available for structural highway maintenance repairs in Hampshire. Planned routine maintenance allocations such as pothole, road defect repairs, renewal of road markings, sign cleaning, drainage cleaning and environmental maintenance such as grass cutting, managing trees and hedges will continue unaffected. Therefore, the County Council would continue to fulfil its core statutory duties as a highway authority. Under this proposal, the County Council would continue to deliver planned maintenance programmes of work such as carriageway resurfacing, but obviously the size of these programmes could be reduced. In June this year, as part of its spending review, the government committed 24 billion of capital funding to motorways and local road maintenance between 2026 and 2030. We still don't know the specific allocations for Hampshire, but a further uplift is expected and we remain hopeful. And just to mention something, Highways is always looking for improved ways of achieving results. Last week I visited the county's purpose-built recycling centre at Mitcheldever to see how new road materials are created, focusing on road surfaces, pavements, which looks at how to maximise the use of sustainable low-carbon materials for a net reduction in the use of virgin aggregates and lowering carbon emissions, and also, more importantly, or as importantly, reduce the cost of resurfacing our roads in Hampshire. I saw this new product being used recently on the A32, and it was very encouraging for the future and how we can manage resurfacing our roads. I'm totally supportive of the recommendations in the report and look forward to hearing comments from my colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So, any debate, everybody? We've got the recommendations that are on page 27 in items 2 to 4. Anyone like to say anything? Zoe?
Really just to reflect that I think Lulu echoed and supported my comments that it is about transformation and efficiency, and I think that road resurfacing initiative is a prime example of how we're being innovative while doing best value for our public.
Thanks. Anyone else? No. So let me wrap up, which is to say that I think the important message that we need to have here is that whilst this is a reduction in part of the planned highway maintenance budget, it doesn't impact, if you are a Hampshire resident, the potholes being filled down your road. It doesn't impact the hedges or trees being cut back. It doesn't stop us clearing the drains to ensure that when there is rain this winter, that we are addressing any of the flooding issues and that we're proactively doing so at this time of year. And I know that actually the good weather this summer has been an incredible benefit to us in making sure that we can keep up with the programme, whereas the weather last summer was a bit more challenging around the amount of rain that we had. And it's great to hear of all the work that we're doing at Micheldever, because at the end of the day, the roads today are the quarries of the future for us to be able to repair the roads going forward. And we are well ahead of the curve in terms of the innovation that we're undertaking at Micheldever. We are visited constantly by other councils and other organisations to see what we're doing there. And ultimately, this is a benefit to all of us as residents, because not only are we able to sell our expertise elsewhere, but we're also able then to ensure that the cost of repair of the roads is less than it otherwise would be, and as a consequence, if we're spending less on repairing the roads, we can fix more than them, and that is all of a huge benefit. So I'm very happy to recommend this update to you to reassure people once again. This doesn't mean that we're not going to be fixing your roads. It means that it is an amount of money we can take out of the budget because of money coming in from government and of the different ways in which we're doing things. Can I check with anyone that everyone is in favour? Agreed. Okay, so that's super. Thank you. Welcome to Jason, who is sitting in for Jess this morning, who's not with us. But over to the older adults day services, and this is one I know that there's been quite a bit of conversation around. Before we talk to Cabinet members, I think Councillor Stephen Reid, who is the chair of our Hampshire 2050 Select Committee, would like to say a few words on behalf of Councillor Bill Withers, who looks after the Health and Social Care Committee and who can't be with us this morning. So, Stephen.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Leader. You'll see at the back of this section that Councillor Bill Withers has written a letter which is supportive of the recommendations. We had a task and finish group which was all party, and we looked at Chesil Lodge and at the Newman Court facility, and we worked very well together and with the officers, and the unanimous opinion was to support the recommendations that are coming forward. The publicity around this at the time was that the County Council was thinking of shutting the facilities down. That would have been extremely unpopular, and I don't think it was actually an accurate report of what the situation was, but obviously it would have been one of the options. People will be delighted that a way has been found to keep those services running. The facilities are valued, the services that are provided in those facilities are valued, and if we can outsource this to another company that can provide those services and save us money at the same time, then that will be a win-win. I know that Bill was very appreciative of the work of the committee and the officers. We ended up with a report that we went through paragraph by paragraph to check that we'd all in agreement, and that was the situation. A personal note, we've got some superb facilities there. We need to sweat them a little bit more. And we could set that challenge to whoever takes over the services to see if more can be provided through them. But for today and for this budget, these recommendations come with the support of the Working Party and the HASC Committee.
Super, thanks very much, Stephen. So before we move on to any sort of comments or debate, do we have any questions? Jan?
Yes, thank you, Leader. And Jason, I think this is probably a question for you. The users of the day services at both Chesil Lodge and Newman Court, how did you take their views into account when you were re-looking at this service and how it would be provided? Thank you.
Thank you. Great, you can hear me. Good morning. Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Warwick. The views, needs and wishes of those using the service and of their carers has directly impacted the proposal now being put forward. A wide range of engagement activities were provided to ensure that individuals could participate meaningfully. These included initial group meetings at both services, one-to-one sessions with senior managers, staff, social workers, independent advocates. There was easy read and accessible documentation made available at all of the different consultation events. Advocacy support was made available to help individuals express their views and complete the consultation response, and follow-up sessions during the final week of the consultation were made available to gather additional feedback. Following on from the closure of the consultation, the County Council undertook its due diligence, reviewing all of the information and the views expressed during the consultation. Alongside information gathered during the period, including from assessments with those using the service and their carers, and conversations with the wider market to better understand their position, officers from the County Council changed their proposal being put forward to take account of that information, which is why the updated recommendation from officers being put before Cabinet today is to find an alternative provider, but the HCC Care and Support will continue to deliver the services until one is found, whereby there is no recommendation to close.
Brilliant, thank you. Can I just do a very quick follow-up, because Councillor Reid alluded to perhaps sweating the assets slightly more. Is there an option to increase the number of users at both venues potentially in the future?
Thank you. The plans will be to go, as you know, to market to seek an independent provider and really capitalise on the opportunities and the capacity that we have within the quality of our day services, and absolutely to make sure that they're sustainable with an open offer to maximise the breadth of the service to more people.
Thanks. And Ros?
Thank you. Can I just follow up on Councillor Warwick's questions, actually, and in particular the last one? So what happens if we are unable to find another provider that's willing to take on the day services and on the terms required?
Thank you. The County Council will only withdraw the delivery of these services once an alternative provider has been secured and following a suitable transition/handover period. If a provider isn't found, the County Council will continue to deliver the services. It's important to stress, as has already been stressed in the recent news items on this matter, that there is no proposal on the table to close these services in that regard.
Thanks. Any other questions, everybody? No? So, Jason, thanks so much. Liz, do you want to say a few words as the first part of the debate?
Thank you. Firstly, can I also thank the officers who carried out the consultation and all the work they did. I'd also like to thank Councillor Withers and the HASC working group, who I know did an awful lot of work. But I also like to thank the councillors not in the working group, but who had a special interest in them, who came on visits with me to the two centres and took time and energy to speak to the residents who were there at the time. And there was no doubt in our minds that this was a highly valued service, both with the service users, but also their carers. To watch the service users walk in and see their eyes light up as they spotted members of staff or other members that they knew, and to hear the carers say how relieved they were, knowing that the people they care for were looked after, safe, well, and different activities going on. They weren't just there as a babysitting service. There was a lot of things going on to keep them happy and comfortable. Now, there's a very common misconception that when we go into consultation, we know the answer, and we're looking for that answer, and that's just not true, especially here. Everything was taken into account. The views of staff, service users, their carers, and the working group that produced their own recommendations. And at the end of the process, we have come up with recommendations which will ensure the safety and the well-being of this service. Now, as an authority, we know that we have to make savings, and it is only right and proper that we look at all that we do due to the increasing demand we face. But that should never be to the detriment of the people we look after. I believe these recommendations before us today deliver the best possible outcome for Hampshire, for our staff, for our service users and their carers. It would involve a saving of £210,000 while maintaining a service that is so valuable, and I commend it to you.
So thanks so much, Liz. Any other comment or debate, everybody? No? All good? Okay. So I think the important thing with this is that I think the point that Liz makes about the fact that we do listen as part of the consultation, and we have adjusted the plans in a way that ensure that these services will continue regardless. So the most important thing for people to remember is that this is not about closing either of these services, and they will not close. What we want to do, though, is to find a different way of working with the private sector so that we can offer an enhanced service, and one that is exactly as Stephen says, sweats the asset of the day centres that we have, but also provides a better service for those who use it, and one that is something that we can grow and that we can continue to ensure that those users receive the absolute best quality of care. And this does that, and we will ensure that we find the right provider, and it will take as long as it takes, but in doing so we will also provide a better and more efficient and more cost-effective service to the taxpayers of Hampshire, who to this point have been entirely funding what happens at each of these what happens as part of the day services. So I'm very happy to recommend that to you. Can I check that all are in favour? Great. Super. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jason. So we're on to item C and D. Zoe's going to go get a coffee. Lucky Zoe. Item 5C in Appendix 3 is post-16 transport. That's on pages 99 to 168. So do we have any questions? No. Juliet, would you like to say a few words as Select Committee Chair?
Thank you, Leader. Well, first of all, a huge thank you to the cross-party working group and to officers who we worked very hard on this report. I think my own view is that we really need to highlight recommendation 7. The income threshold is very low, and this was of huge concern to the working group. And officers described how they very much look on every application on a case-by-case basis. And so were the contribution to bring a family below the threshold, they would look at that very closely, or indeed, if the contribution would bring the family to the level, they would look very closely indeed. So I think the thing I'm trying to emphasise here is that officers have assured us it's not a one-size-fits-all policy, and they will look at each case. The other thing I thought it would be very important to mention was recommendation 6, that the Cabinet approves post-16 transport provision with the parents and acting and carers responsible adults can act as passenger assistants where it would work. I think that was another area of concern because one of the issues is that parental carer usually has to sometimes give up work to do that. might have to take a lower paid job to do that. So all these things have to be brought into consideration. But a huge thank you to the officers and the working group for raising all these issues, and for officers really emphasising that every decision is made on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Super, thanks. Ros, do you want to introduce this as part of the debate?
Thank you, Leader. So before us we have the paper for post-16 transport. Again, just to echo Councillor Henderson's words, I would like to thank the officers for this report, and in particular I'd actually like to thank Councillor Henderson and her working group for all the work that they've done on this and helping to come to today. One thing I really would like to highlight about this report actually is that it's for new applicants in 2026 that this will come into fruition for. So those young people that are currently having transport and are in their courses at the moment will not be affected, and so that actually there is no change for those young people. I'd also really like to pull out in this report as well the fact of the independent travel training, and we understand that this will not fit every young person. However, it's really important that that is on offer for as many young people as possible, because not only does that help us in this period of their life, but actually going forward it gives them that greater independence as they move into adulthood as well. And I think with young people it's important that they are able to have those opportunities to go, not just be able to safely get to their place of learning, but also it enables them, it gives them the opportunity to maybe meet friends and have a greater social life going forward. This is a significant saving for children that we're putting forward today, and again I think Councillor Henderson really represented well the fact of the exceptional circumstances as well. So this will be done on a case-by-case basis, and I think that's very important as well, that we acknowledge that going forward, and so that if those families, they can put forward a case if they feel they need to. Really happy with the recommendations put forward and happy to present this today, and hope that everyone agrees with it.
Super, thanks very much. Any other comments from Cabinet members? No? All okay? I think it's worth saying actually, so I should have said it perhaps when we were just talking to the previous item, that each of our select committees, so backbench councillors, have taken the time and have gone through each of these different proposals in a lot of detail to make sure that there is proper scrutiny of them and challenge to any of the proposals coming forward. So our thanks to all of them that have taken part in that. Ros and Juliet have highlighted the fact that we will look at this on a case-by-case basis, and that this doesn't come into place until September of next year. So those young people who are either in education at the moment or are planning to start their courses in September will not be affected by this. But there is a really strong piece around prevention, and I know that's something that Stewartson is really keen upon, in terms of saying, if we can help young people to become independently able to use public transport at this age, then that helps them in the future as young adults and going on through their lives to be able to access all sorts of different opportunities and services that they might otherwise not be able to if they were otherwise reliant upon the institutionalised form of public transport, of school transport that we otherwise have had to provide. So there is a huge opportunity in this for the young people that are able to access it, and I really hope that we are able to help transform the lives of those people by giving them that opportunity and giving them the support to undertake that as we go forward. So I'm very happy to echo Ros's recommendation. Can I check all of those in favour? Yeah, we all agreed. Thanks so much, and thank you, the Children's Services team for that. So we've now got item 5D. I know Jackie would like to say a few words, so perhaps sit next to Liz, Jackie, if that's all right. Where do you want? Okay, sorry. You might need to sit somewhere else, Jackie, because you're going to. We don't want you to appear to be somebody different to that who you are.
Thank you very much indeed. And firstly, I'd just like to say that not only are there museums in Winchester, but also at Worthy Down, because there's a very interesting presentation of wagons and horses today, tomorrow and the next day, free to enter for families, 10 till 4. So a good day out, I think. And then there's something else later in August as well.
I think you've just earned your free entry to the event, Jackie. So.
It's free anyway. It's just a donation. So I just like to say, there are museums outside Winchester. So I think the first point I'd like to mention is it's important to notice that affected families did not agree with the proposals like the rest of the public did when they filled in the responses to these proposals. And I do understand why this decision is being taken, and I understand, because I was on the working party, about the challenges we've had, and I'm really grateful to Councillor Henderson for pointing them out. My main concern is about impact on families in rural areas. As more children with SEND will be attending special provisions in their local schools, how would this new arrangement work? We've talked about independent travel training, but should SEND children be standing on the bus if that's where we get to? The practicality of ensuring this isn't the case, I'm still not sure about how this works. So I appreciate, and that's why I'm talking about post-16. I didn't talk about post-16 because I appreciate there's a different issue at post-16. But when you're starting a secondary school system, there's enough trouble and trial in what's going on in your lives, as well as actually the transport. So reducing income to a set level and saying we may have to be paying at a figure as well, I think is also a challenge for families at that point. So I appreciate the school transport code of conduct for children is usually held within each school, but it's really important if SEND children are on those buses too, that we find a way to make sure those children are comfortable on those buses. I think that one of the points that's been made is that they could end up on service buses. I'm concerned about the capacity of that bus operator to provide enough service buses on a route. So, for example, we have a 75 that goes from Andover to Winchester. It's ideal for Sutton Scotney and South Wonston pupils, but it actually might be full by the time they get to there. So it's the practicalities of both pre-16 and post-16 that I think is the challenge here. Who'll be dealing with that capacity and delivery? So I think we've always struggled as Liberal Democrats with the fairness of getting to education. We know there are certain areas where bus passes cost a lot more just out of town. So if you've got a catchment area for school which extends past the immediate town area or the urban area, it's much more expensive to get to school. And that happens in South Wonston for post-16. It happens in other places as well. So I'm actually a bit concerned about how this works with a concession, with the principle that we are going to take each child into consideration in the decision that's been made about that child. I had one happen recently. The parent was asked to be provide that private transport for an 11-year-old to get to a secondary school. Because there was nothing near them, this journey was going to take 3/4 of an hour each way by car. So they were going to be spending 3 hours a day getting to and from school. And actually, Councillor Henderson's position was right. This lady was going to have to give up a paid job in order to do this. I pointed out actually that the principle of it hadn't actually been established yet. It wasn't going to happen until 2026. So that decision was changed. But it showed me very practically the problem of being either the accompanist with a family, with a child, or having to take your own child to school. And I really am concerned about the impact on families that have multiple children that need to get to school and college, and what quality of experience you're giving to other family members if you're having to take one child to school and you've got other children going to other schools. So I'm pointing this out because at the Children's Services Scrutiny, or the Select Committee, I asked that we looked at this and scrutinised the effectiveness of this policy. I also believe that there is a challenge that we could suggest the scrutiny before this is rolled out, because we need to know how effective this is likely to be and whether the officer time made in taking a lot of individual decisions will actually end up cancelling out the value of this. I appreciate it's potentially a large amount of money, but it could end up being a very large piece of work. I do think there's a possibility of talking about scrutiny of capacity, fairness on families which have multiple children getting to school and college, and the impact on other children, and also the distance that children would be coming to get to school.
Okay. Thanks so much. I'm sure that we can sort of address some of those points as we go through the debate and so on. Juliet, would you like to mention the feedback from the Select Committee and the working group?
Yes, I think Councillor Porter raised an important question about rurality and distance. One of the things I think is that the bus pass usage data, I thought that was a very good piece of scrutiny, because many people, they start out life, they hopefully apply for the bus pass, but they actually don't use it because they're changing timetables. We all know that our children are very good at changing our timetables and theirs. So I thought that was a very good piece of work. Very sensible. We have a tremendous access to data, and we have to make sure that when we scrutinise it, we can really make savings. So I thought that was very positive.
Thanks. Any questions of officers? Don't think there are any. Ross, did you want to say a few words to introduce this item again?
Thank you. And thank you for the comments from Councillor Porter this morning. And again, just to reiterate what I said before, thank you to Councillor Henderson for her working group as well with this one. In regards to this, I think within our team in school transport, we absolutely do have the ability to look at those individual cases and those exceptional circumstances when they do occur and parents put their needs forward in that respect. You mentioned the stand-in of SEND children. That is something that will not happen. There is no plans for any of our SEND children to be standing on buses, and that has never been a plan. What we have got in place is what we have from the data is we see that there is those children that's 20% under capacity on some of those journeys, and what we are looking at is actually releasing over-releasing by say 10% to make sure that we've got that leeway of being able to have that space, because we've always got that 20% capacity that we've notified over the last few months on the buses. So the chances of young people, any young person standing up on a bus, is extremely minimal. And if it does become a regular occurrence, it would be absolutely something that we would bring back and look at again to make sure that because clearly then the data has changed, so it would be a complete constant review of that data going forward. But in regards of SEN children, there are absolutely no plans for any SEND child to be standing on the buses. This is mainstream children where there is capacity, and they are licensed. The vehicles are licensed for children to stand, and only when there is that 20% capacity in that provision, and that then should be that it would only be in exceptional circumstances, and as I've said, if it becomes a reoccurring concern on that particular journey, we would absolutely look at that and see what needs to be done to reduce those numbers of children standing. I absolutely do share your concern with young people standing on buses, and it's something I think that we are all really mindful of, hence why it's the 20% where there's undercapacity, and that we would review it if it became a regular issue. In regards to the implication on families, I think again we've got the capacity within the team to look at those on a case basis, and we absolutely will do that. We don't want finances to be a barrier to young people's education, and we are not in that place at all, and we will always make sure that we have that when families present concerns to us, that we do look at those and we do help where we can, using that exceptional circumstances criteria that we have in place. I haven't got anything else to add. I think the recommendations before us are good. They are in line with what we need, what we want to do with the transport. We are looking as well with community transport and seeing what else we can bring in to our school transport area, and would put forward the recommendations to Cabinet today on this.
Thanks. So, any comment or debate, Steve?
Sorry. Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Chad. And responding to Councillor Porter's valid concerns, which were discussed at committee and by many of us, interesting discussions. One thing I think underpins this is we have seen huge growth in requirements for EHCPs and SEND children. We were just talking about it this morning earlier, and we've seen now over 19,000 EHCPs. That's pretty much up 10% in just a year. So our costs are rising significantly, but interestingly, the government funding isn't. I mean, one of the things that we have to highlight is that government funding has to be more reasonable. We are a highly rural area, and the focus, as always, with children's services across the county is on looking after the most vulnerable and those in need. And that particularly applies to those children with SEN. But what we have to do is make sure we're using our funding wisely, and that our money goes as far as possible. So I do feel that the proposals here actually are about delivering improved services through making the money go further so we can support more children in need and do that properly with the funding that we have. And I'd like to commend our officers and the teams that have been working on this and highlight how that addresses one of Councillor Porter's concerns about making sure that we do look after the individual circumstances of children, in that we have spent considerable time and effort and resource in transforming the way that service is delivered, increasing the support team, for instance, that focuses on looking after the travel requests that come in. So at certain times of year, that team is bolstered very significantly. And what we've seen as a result of that, based on the feedback from parents, is that the service is dramatically better than it used to be. The responsiveness is there. The tailoring of service to individual circumstances is far better than it used to be. We can always improve further. We're aiming to improve further, but it is really good. So those individual circumstances are really focused on, as Councillor Chad said, we look at the needs and we make sure that where appropriate and where there is a true need, that we can provide that. And the funding is all about doing that as efficiently as we can. The other one that you highlighted was maybe a parent has children going to multiple schools. Obviously, we're very aware that one parent can't act as a passenger assistant if they have two children going in two different directions. That's exactly the sort of circumstance that we look at and make sure that appropriate support is put into place. And underpinning that, I think the focus that we've talked about on life skills is really important, because yes, we provide the support for children in need to get to school, but obviously when they come to the end of their school career, going to into college or into work, if that's the route that they take, those skills will be really important. So I think what's proposed here is really good. I am supportive, and I do think that Councillor Porter's concerns, while valid, have been very carefully considered and addressed. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? Lily?
Just a quick one, if I may. As part of my role with passenger transport, we're investigating all aspects of how we deliver bus services. And the next meeting for strategic transport is in the next 2 weeks. And we'll be working with Children's Services to assess how we can support them and bring innovation where possible. Thank you.
Any other comments? No. So to wrap that one up, Jackie, thanks for your comments, and I hope that the comments that everybody have made have provided you with a little bit of reassurance around, certainly all of the different aspects have been taken into account. I think it's clearly in the press over the last few weeks, the issue of school transport has really come to the fore with questions that have been asked nationally around it. And we have, as Steve has highlighted, seen an increase in the number of children with EHCP, so with those identified as having special educational need. In the last 10 years ago, there were 5,000 or so EHCPs in the county. At the end of last year, there were 17,300, and we're already looking at a figure of 19,000 at this point in the year. So there's never increasing pressure for us, and if we talk about fairness, and you're absolutely right to talk about fairness and equality of opportunity and equality of availability, frankly, the laws and the rules that we have around school transport at this point make it very, very difficult, because there are many people who, we have a system where there are people who could and are willing to contribute, but who cannot, because the system tells them that they can't, and that creates an ongoing financial pressure to us. And certainly over the last few years, the increase in the cost of school transport, particularly for those with special educational need, has been an ever-increasing pressure for us. And it's actually a huge testament to the work that the team in Children's Services under Stuart has undertaken, and that in combination with the work that Universal Services are undertaking with Patrick, and that the forum that Lulu has created by bringing together all of our different public transport providers and voluntary transport services to see how can we use that entire system to its best advantage, that has begun to contribute to the kind of savings that we're able to report in the beginning of the meeting around the underspend that Jan was discussing. So it's one of our greatest pressures, but we are increasingly able to manage it, and this is one of the steps that we need to take to be able to help us do that. The answer, frankly, lies with government. The answer lies with the government being able to change the rules around this so that we can be much fairer in the way that we approach things. We can properly support the children who live in rural areas and who need our support, but we can also call upon the support of those parents who, frankly, are in a position to contribute but currently don't have to or aren't able to because of the rules that are in place. I'm very happy to support this. I think it's part of a bigger picture, and it's part of something that we'll no doubt continue to look at. I'm reassured by the comments around standing on buses. I'm reassured by the fact that yet again we'll be looking at each individual case, and I'm quite certain that in doing so we are not going to be spending more than the amount that we save by way of looking at this. Can I check that if I'm happy to support the recommendation? Colleagues, are you happy to do so as well? Agreed. Okay, super. Thank you so much. Team, thank you very much. I think, Stuart, you're staying with us, and we'll move on to item 6. Patrick, thanks very much. And we should go and tell Zoe that she can come back. Yes, you are. Yeah. Just in case you're seen going out of the room and coming back in again.
No, you can leave, but just while the item wasn't continuing.
So Zoe's been able to join us again, and we're on to item 6, which is our last item, which is about a school organisation, and our school organisation report. Jackie, you'd like to say a few words about this as well, and then I'll ask Juliet again to say a few words too.
Thank you. I appreciate the need to streamline, but I am concerned that when a decision is made to go forward on this, it isn't a published decision, and that's the purpose of when it goes to the executive member for consideration. So the local member is not the only person affected by a decision of this sort either. So just telling the local member may not be enough. Primaries and secondaries, often residents in adjoining divisions are affected too, and they may need to know, as may local schools as well. And so my concern is about the lack of the published decision-making process that takes place if the director is making that decision, rather than it being a decision in a decision-making process. If someone can reassure me that that's not going to be an issue, then that's great. But at the moment, I don't see anything here that shows it's either in the key decision-making or in association with the executive.
Listen, I think Stuart is keen to reassure you. So,
thank you, Leader. I am. This is the non-statutory consultation, so where we go out for the first one. If we then seek to go out, if it's agreed that we then should go out to a statutory consultation, it will be an executive member decision, it will be a published decision, it would be the normal process. It's that initial one where actually we might go and speak to the school and say, the school is saying to us, we'd like to age down, we'd like to, for example, have nursery provision. At the moment, that has to go through an executive member decision process to go out for a non-statutory. And in discussion with exec members, we thought that was inefficient and over-bureaucratic. So we are not in any way taking away from the democratic decision-making process in that sense.
Come back if you...
Yeah, so will the local member at least know that that non-statutory is going on?
Yes, because as part of our non-statutory, we would still have to talk to people to say this is what we're doing. So yes, in the non-statutory, we speak to local members. That process will continue. So for example, the school, if a school is ageing down, the situation moves for them to contact people and then for them to let people know, including us. Does that make sense? The duty sits then with the school. We will support that. We will support that. And of course, local members will be involved.
My concern is that it isn't just that local member. There are other members who are affected. So how would they know if it was
maybe it's a matter of catchment.
Or would you regard that as your responsibility to do that?
Our responsibility. And sometimes we may get it wrong and you may say to us, you should have, and we say, yes, we'll go and do that now. So yes, I know we're getting into a lot of detail, Leader, but to give you that reassurance, we're not diluting the process.
If I might suggest, it's probably worth just a conversation outside of the room to reassure you on that. And I mean, I can think actually of examples in which I've been involved where it's been mentioned to me, and I've got a couple of schools that sit right on my division boundary, and I've sort of then said, well, actually, are we talking to Mark or to David, who are my neighbours, to make sure that that's happening? And the guys have been very happy to go do that and ensure that that's the case. But I'm sure we can provide you with some reassurance, Jackie, around how that would work. But it's probably not one for us to sort of go into the weeds about just now in terms of our process, if that's okay. If perhaps we just have a quick chat afterwards for you to provide you with that reassurance of exactly how it works in detail. The public watching probably don't need to know exactly what we do internally to be able to ensure that councillors are aware of what's happening. Is that okay with you? Yeah.
It is, but
Yeah.
I feel we've been burnt already recently, and I'd like to make sure that we're not again.
Okay. Juliet.
I very much welcome this because I was written to by the head teacher of Overton Primary School who want to have an age down approach, and they've got that beautiful nursery all raring to go, and they need to wait for the yes from us. And I know our cabinet meeting today is a delayed one, so the decision was delayed yet again. And this is an excellent primary school. It's really welcome to have this age-down approach for continuity of education. So this is a decision I personally think is a very good one. I think Mrs. Wyeth at Overton would be very relieved if we can give her the go-ahead. She's got the staff ready, the building, you name it.
So thanks. Just to say, to be fair to Stuart, this item was added to this agenda, so it's actually coming forward earlier than it might otherwise have done. So this wasn't on the original delayed agenda, and we've actually hopefully helped out Overton by bringing it forward to this meeting that we might otherwise have done. So let me check with colleagues. Any questions? Liz?
Yeah, while I would welcome this proposal, can I just ask if any research has been done into the effect on local childcare providers out with our school system?
We work closely with the market and schools and independent providers to make sure that there's sufficiency, and we're always struggling for sufficiency. It's a national issue. So by removing some of the bureaucracy, we think this will promote that. Certainly a lot of schools now are looking, primary schools, infant, junior schools, are looking to grow their own, if I can put it that way, in terms of numbers.
Super. Thanks. Any other questions, everyone? No? Steve, would you like to kick off the debate?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for those concerns. It's absolutely right. Overton and Councillor Henderson's points were very appropriate because that has brought this forward to today's meeting, and more generally because it highlighted that some of our processes were just, how can I put it nicely? I can't, bureaucratic and slow. And so what we're trying to do is simplify, improve, speed up the processes to actually assist the schools and assist the local communities and actually help them where there isn't sufficiency of places and where a school wants to provide those places and help the market generally. So what we're proposing is to do that. But the point that you raised, Jackie, is absolutely spot on. We will make sure that those members that need to be appraised are, which effectively is those that are likely to be covered or impacted by the catchment or adjacent to it. So we'll cover that and we'll take that offline as the leader suggested. But it does help the schools and it does simplify the process. It's not designed to shortcut the process or hide anything. We still have the consultations, which are highly public, quite intentionally, but it just lets a school effectively provide services for parents or make changes that are actually in the community's interests. So I do fully support this.
Now, I've got to apologise to Natalie because I've completely forgotten to ask you to introduce the item. we jumped because we were doing it a different way with the other ones. I've completely forgotten to do that. Is there, for completeness, do you want to sort of just talk through exactly what we're proposing here, or do you think we've covered it already?
I'm very happy to. I do feel that the questions have drawn out the major points of it. This is something that was proposed originally and agreed in 2007. So it's very pleasing to be able to look at it with 2025 head on. Thank you.
Let's hope other items of transformation don't quite take 18 years to get to that point. I'm so sorry to have done that. Because we were in one mindset of doing things one way. I'd completely forgotten that I was supposed to ask you to introduce it to us. So my apologies. So any other comments anyone would like to make on this one? No. I mean, I think the debate has been well formed and is drawn out, and I know that there's been a little bit of an issue recently with a particular school, and I know where you come from, Jackie. And I think hopefully we've learned from that experience to be able to understand that. Yeah. So that I think is hopefully, you know, a piece of learning that we can take away and ensure isn't repeated elsewhere. Colleagues, are we happy to support the recommendation in front of us, which is on pages, the report in pages 253 to 260, and the recommendation I think is on page 253 in paragraphs 2 and 3. Agreed? Okay, we all agreed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Natalie. That's the end of the meeting. Thank you, Jackie, for coming along, and also to Juliet and Stephen for coming down as well. And that's the end of our meeting.